Hi, and welcome to another episode for Lingerie and Lattes. I can't wait to get into the subject today because I think it's a pretty particular one. I'm curious to hear other people's thoughts as well on it. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Olivia Drumaga, founded Vulcan Ability in 2020. And essentially, what it does is alchemizes traumas within the body for men and women in order to integrate them and then connect with your partner from a place of that wholeness. So when we get into these different subjects of love and relationships and monogamy, the whole idea is for you to be self-reflecting upon your behaviors, your environment as you've accepted it to be, and maybe where you'd like to be and how you can move towards that. So let's get into this idea of libido today. That's going to be the subject. Libido is an interesting one because there's different factors that affect how you're feeling and how much you can feel aroused in a situation. There's things such as the biochemical aspect, what the food you're intaking, and all of that. And these are very valid variables that play into a libido. But I want to get into the more subtle variables. So if you are thinking that you're maybe experiencing a biochemical reasoning and you just want to write it off as that solely, that's completely fine. And you have free will to do so. Definitely work with a naturopath, homeopathy person, an acupuncturist, traditional Chinese medicine. I mean, there's so many options to heal. However, I have also noticed a big aspect of libido is mental. So that's where I want to touch on today, because I've noticed that many times, this is also just a personal example. Sometimes I'll feel like I am nowhere close to being in the mood to be intimate with my man. And once they kind of start doing the right things in order to relax me, which this kind of leads into the video I'll be sharing this weekend about for men and how men can access women a lot more and pleasure them. So when a woman feels pretty much courted into her sexual energy, that can really bypass a lot of the mental blocks that we put up ourselves. So that's the other point that I want to bring in with the mental. A lot of the times we think it's because of this, it's because of X, Y, Z, whatever. But really, sure, they can have influences on how you're feeling. Maybe there was a car situation that you're dealing with. Maybe you got into a car crash and now you have to deal with all these lawyers and etc. Maybe it's that fact that I don't know, whatever, like whatever the situation is, whatever the life circumstance is, usually we will use that as a gatekeeper, as a barricade in order to experience sexual pleasure. So I want to question that, because a lot of these times, the stories that we're creating around these events are the ones that are causing turmoil within our bodies. If we recognize that the stories are causing the turmoil within the bodies, then we can start to ask ourselves, what can I take away from this event? How can I separate this event from anything to do with me and my body and my experience with myself and the body and the divine, or with myself, my experience with another person? So my point here is, instead of believing that you have a low libido and just accepting it, instead of believing you have a super high libido and now you're really freaked out why it's out of the blue, it doesn't exist anymore. We want to start looking into these subtler circumstances that could be causing your libido to shift. So we need to also remember women are malleable, right? They're like a piece of Play-Doh. Like, we change every single day. The hormones in our bodies are changing every single day. The moods are going to be a little bit different because that's driven by the hormones. And our libido is not going to be based upon just one particular sensation or the way it used to be. So when we think of libido and we think of the mental barricades that we're putting up in case we are, that actually lowers the libido and makes us think that we're not connected to our partners. We don't have any more desire to have intimacy. A lot of that is really just an evasion of intimacy as well. I know a lot of the time it would just feel like, for me personally, again, this is lingerie and lattes, so I am not research based here as much as I am just anecdotal and just sharing myself. So please be respectful of that. So personally, I've noticed that a lot of the times a self critique comes up for me. And I noticed that that's kind of like the little demon behind my lack of libido, because I'll think at that time that I'm not looking that great, or, I don't want somebody within anywhere near my body, my space. And that's a good question to have. It's a good boundary to have. But when we're thinking of our partners, like our the loves of our lives, yes, it's good to ask ourselves and look into that a little deeper. So when I was experiencing this, I would check in and think like, well, why do I feel like my body is just like off guard, like don't touch me, don't get anywhere near me, what is the sensation? And it was like, okay, well, I'm feeling frustrated. About what? Is it about the partnership? Is it about the encounter, the intimacy? Like what's frustrating me? I was like, no, I think I just feel a little bit like tired and agitated from work. I was like, okay, okay. So then we backtracked it, as you can tell, with my explanations here. And I recognized, there was pretty much nothing related to me particularly, or even intimacy or the other person, that had anything to do with the fact that I had no desire. But when you add in the right person into the mix, when you add in your partner or not, if you're alone, you're single, you add in you from a different energy of like, well, how can I just relax myself? How can I make myself feel a little bit more at ease? Not how can I turn myself on? How can I arouse my partner? None of that. It's just kind of like, how can I maybe bring them out of their headspace a little bit and back into the body? So, what works for me wonders is physical touch. Seems counterintuitive, but it does not have to be intimate, romantic at all. It could be a very like a platonic type of touch. It could be a really just like a shoulder massage, or even like a maybe a touch of your neck or something, or I don't know, I would say maybe like rubbing like this, kind of rubbing a hand over your arm, or even like your leg. Again, not for it to be like a seduction of the other person, the person that's experiencing low libido. That would really be an irk. I would advise and caution away from that. But if you're using non-physical, non-sexual touch to relax a person and just bring them down a notch from their mindset, it's almost like you're opening the door up for like the libido to peek out and being like, hey, is it safe for me to come out? And that's where I want to get to with this talk today. Safety in the body is really the driving factor of libido. If a body feels safe and it feels beautiful, it feels revered by yourself in the mirror, maybe, or just like how you're feeling in yourself, or your other person, your partner, then libido is ready to play. You can think of libido as a very playful muse. She's almost like a nymph. That's how I imagine her. She's like this young, beautiful maiden running around the forest and all, the beautiful leaves and the flowers and blah, blah, blah. She's like running around with all the rays of sunshine. And she doesn't want to be in a very stressed, tight environment, in a home situation that's really tense because you're experiencing financial issues between you and your partner. Maybe there's a difference with who is bringing in the bacon home. Maybe there is like a health stressor for you because of one of your family members. Maybe they're experiencing some sort of an issue, and you're bringing that all into your body. No matter how much you think that it doesn't bother you, when you don't process your emotions, when you're not doing this sort of shadow work on yourself pretty much daily in order to integrate life experiences, then we can just kind of fill up our body with this trash, essentially. And if we think of this beautiful light maiden, she doesn't want to go into a stinky dumpster. No, she wants to be wooed. She wants to walk into luxury, to opulence, to a room where everything is laid out for her. So again, this is metaphorical here. I hope you're catching that. This libido needs a sense of romantic desire, right? That's the idea of libido. But it rests on how can we get there without limiting ourselves just based on a day to day experience. If we bring libido into a different context, the idea that people's libidos are extremely low right now might be tied to something or other, that they are having issues and they're not really looking at them, and they're not maybe allowing even their partners to relax them, because usually this idea in modern culture is that it has to lead to sex essentially. And even that whole pressure, that whole mindset of like, oh my god, that's so much work, like I don't want to deal with that, I'm going to have to get naked, I'm going to have to do this, and it becomes this chore. And that's when I've noticed libido is dropping, when sex becomes steps out of the play zone and really goes back into this like work mode of, oh man, like we're on the schedule, like, oh, there, we haven't had it in 3 weeks, so there it is, we got to amp up the libido. That's not really how it works. It doesn't work on demand. So when we're cultivating this, and I was speaking with people from many different walks of life and generations. So even even when we think that we have our libido figured out, or we think we have like a threshold, this is my normal, anything below it I should be worried, concerned, think about it, or oh my god, it's gotten really higher, so what's wrong with me, am I whatever becoming manic, blah blah blah. No, just recognize that there's going to be fluctuations within your life. Open yourself up to the idea, even if you're not feeling sexy, even if you're not feeling like you have a high libido, you can still feel at ease. You can still feel relaxed. You can still feel playful, even without libido, front and center. And then once you're in relaxed, calm, you know, expressive moods, then you can coax her out without drugs, without alcohol, without any of these substances. You can just use you and your energy and your body to bring her back up, to feel delighted and sensual. And you can overflow that into your partner, who maybe they're also in a low libido state. And maybe that's why you're having issues with your intimacy. So, with that whole subject wrapped up, I hope this was educational as always. And thank you so much for joining me for Lingeries and Lattes. I will be sharing another video really soon this weekend to talk about men and how they can really get into a woman's yoni. It's going to be a multi-part, multi-series topic. So just please subscribe to my YouTube if you haven't already, in order to stay informed when everything is going to be posted. Have an absolutely magical Friday, and thank you.